board. And so now we are officially began. This is the beginning of week 4. It is 9/20, 2022, and this is going to be business math. And this is the very last week, ladies. So let's make sure that if you need help or if you need to get caught up, we have what was it, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 5 days, to make sure everything's done. And for Rob, and the discussions aren't that bad, and we're about to go over the discussion number 4, so that should be a big help. So is everybody ready? Set, go. Okay, so here's our discussion 4, and it's over the break-even point. It looks a little more complicated than it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a spreadsheet here. So what we're saying here is it says the break-even analysis confirms that your cost and sales confirms from your cost and sales at what point your business would break even. And total cost equals total sales, which means, that's the point where you're not making any money, you're not losing any money, you're just flat there. And that's a good thing to know, because from that point, you can decide, number one, whether you want to continue, whether you need to raise prices, whether you want to do the business, because like I said, you just want to make sure that's why you do it, is to make money. They said it's a very important mathematical equation that will determine early in your business if you are making enough income or creating enough sales to cover your cost. Not knowing this can create a sense of false security and can be devastating to a startup company. They give you a revenue and units sold on a curve here, and where those two cross, this is like a kind of similar to a supply and demand curve, is where they cross is your break even. And then as you continue to go, you'll see your profit begins to go. Now this is an okay chart, but actually it's a little more curved, and at some point it starts to flatten out like this. Okay, and that's when you start scaling up. They give you the break-even point. So the information they're going to give you are fixed costs, your selling price, and your variable costs, and you want to figure your break-even point. Okay, so let's look here, and they do give that to you. They figure your selling price is going to be $7. And let me turn all this into money, so it looks like a little something. Your fixed costs are $75,000. Now, your fixed costs are just exactly what they sound like. They're fixed. They don't change. That'll include things that, your rent or payment on your building, your electric bill, things that are going to be consistent every single month that you're going to have to pay. Okay, because other costs you can control. Payroll you can control. Many times you can control your materials cost. But there's some things, like I said, they are what they are. So we're going to figure it's $75,000 here because that's what they give us. Your variable costs are 50 cents. Okay, so that may be, the materials that go into it, and materials, labor, things like that. And so you're like, well, if we make it for 50 cents, we sell it for $7, we have to take in and account the overhead. All right, because overhead is one of your big expenses. Even though in most businesses, and probably everyone I've ever been in, the biggest cost is always labor. So if you notice, when companies start to pull back and they want to save money, we have hard economic times. Basically, what we have now, uh, they will cut labor. All right, so we have a formula here, and our formula is going to say our fixed cost. Now, I don't know, does anyone here use Excel on a regular basis or at all? Avery does. Awesome. So this should be old to you. But for people who really don't, each one of these cells is made to take information. If you just type something in it, like I did the text here, they that's all it is. Same thing with the numbers. You just type in the numbers. Now you can go in under here, turn them into percentages, turn them into money. You know, you can use, and there's nothing there. So, you know, I could change that into a percentage, change it into money, we change it just a regular number. And then I can also sit here and remove or extend out the decimals. So now, if you want to use a mathematical formula, okay, the book will tell you you can just go here and hit the equal sign. Once you hit that equal sign, Excel knows what you're going to do next is a calculation. So, but one of the shortcuts here that I learned to use years and years and years ago was, especially if you're on a 10 key, hitting the plus sign is just like hitting equal sign. Tells it the same thing. And so our break-even point is our fixed costs, just 75,000 divided. Now pay attention to the parentheses here, because what we want to do, and they don't really show it here, is we want to, and you can't see where I'm pointing, but on this selling price minus the variable cost, we want to do that as one calculation. Okay. And you know, I could even add another, well, I won't do that, but so I'm going to open my parentheses, and I'm going to take my selling price minus the variable costs. At this point, I hit enter, and I get $11,538.46. Now, one of the things we have to realize when we're doing, well, any work, but math especially, we have to look and understand what they're actually asking you for. And if you look here, they tell you, armed with this information, calculate the break-even point in units. So they want to know how many units you have to sell. All right. So this is our break-even point in dollars. So I'm gonna add another line here, a break-even point in units. And what that's going to be, we're going to take our, I'm going to hit my plus sign again to let it know we want to calculate something. I'm going to take my break-even dollar amount here, and I'm going to divide that by the price. Now that tells us, and it calls it money. So let's go here and change this. That is telling us that we need to sell 1,648.35 units. Now, when you're dealing in units and breaking in points like this, the normal rounding rules, I don't consider that to be important. I always round up. Okay. And so So if we round this up, that'll be 1649. And the way I do it in here, let me go back and I'll kind of start all over again here, is I'm going to use the round up function, okay? And if you look on that spreadsheet, it gives you the number to round up and how many digits you need. So open my parentheses. The number I want to round up is this divided by that, whatever that turned out to be. And then it asks for number of digits. I'm going to tell them 0 because I don't want anything after the decimal point. Close my parentheses, and it's going to go ahead and round it up for me. And what I can do here, if I don't like those, I don't need those. So I'll just go get rid of those. So in order to just break even, in order to work for nothing, you have to make and sell 1,649 units of, and this was smartphone app. So that's what you're going to have to sell. Now, the profit here is a little bit different. I mark mine up certain ways. Now, there's 2 ways you can do it. Okay. And I'm just going to call this 5% profit. And I'm going to do it 2 different ways. The first way, the formula is going to be this number divided by, and I do my parentheses again, 1 minus, oh, they want 5%. I'd like to put, I'll throw 5% over here somewhere. Well, doggone it. Oh, yes. Now that worked because what I tell it here. Okay, so I didn't put anything in there yet. So we want our profit to be 5%. That's 0.05. Got somebody hopping on. Hello, who is going to be Zoom user?
Richard.
Hey, Richard. All right, I just want to make sure I got you down.
Yeah, I just found out the code.
The code for
I just found it for this class. I was like, man, I was stressing out. I was like, I can't miss the class.
Well, right now we're going over the discussion 4.1. Now we are recording, so you can go back and look at what you missed. I said a 5% profit, that's 0.05. And I'm gonna go up here and turn it into a percent because that's what I like. And then here, I'm gonna turn that into money. So, and remember our formula here, it's kind of showing us, it is this number divided by 1 minus your what profits you want to make. The other way to do it, okay, is to, I'm gonna hit plus here, take this number and multiply it times 1 plus this number. If you notice, there is a little bit of a difference. What is the difference here? Okay, and both of these numbers are acceptable. There's more than one way to figure out how you want to mark it up. And if you'll notice, there's what, a $30 difference right here. Don't care which one you use or which one you prefer, especially for this, because if you notice, this discussion is fairly vague. So if you want to know how many units we have to sell, I am going to do my formula again, because once again, I need to round every single time when it comes to units. Round up, and it's going to be what we did here divided by the price And I want this time maybe to work 0 as far as the number of places past the decimal point. Did I now? That doesn't make any sense to me. Why is it not working? Okay. We do it over again. That is really weird. Stop that. Leave me alone. Try this again. I want to round up this divided by this with no digits. There it goes. It works that time. Now, so we're going to at this 5% profit margin, we're going to have to sell 1,736 units. Now, this isn't our profit. This will be called what we're going to look at is it'll be our total revenue from sales. Okay. Same thing here. I'm gonna cheat here. So we know our price is going to continue to be $7. So I'm gonna use a little trick here. And if you hit the F4 key, it anchors that cell. So it's always going to use that cell no matter what you do. Let me drag that down. At this price, you need to sell seven, or at this, if you want to use this one here, it's 1,731 units. I'm going to stop for a second and see if anybody has any questions. All right, speak now or forever hold your peace. That's not really what that means. We can pick this up if it's everything. Everybody's good. Okay. Now, once again, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna Control C this and copy everything, Control V, and just copy all these formulas over. So that way, I like to keep this original here just for the heck of it. So I remember what my original was, but we can also use this as well. So it says figure the break-even point if you were able to reduce the fixed cost to 65,000. So using the same formula, and since that's in a spreadsheet here, all I have to do is change it to 65,000, and boom, it gives us a whole different set of numbers. Our new break-even point is at $10,000 or 1,429 units. Okay, so if you were able to somehow reduce your fixed costs, okay, get cheaper rent, shut the lights off a little bit. I don't know, maybe not spend as much money as an app on your servers, but or maybe you just got it wrong in your estimation. So I give us 1,429 units. Okay. Now, what if you missed the mark on variable costs and the actual variable costs are $115? What would your break even be in units? And once again, remember they're asking in units, not just how much, what your break even is in money. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and Control C this, go back to Control V. That way I can copy everything over, formulas, whatnot. Now, here's the thing. They don't tell you to use the fixed cost of 75 or 65. Okay. They're a little vague on that. So use whichever one's comfortable for you. We already got 65,000 down there, so we'll just figure 65,000. What does change are our variable costs, and they said they become $1.15 instead of 50 cents. When we'll hit the 0. When we do that, our break even becomes $11,111.11, and that's 1,588 units. Okay. Now we could have done the same thing with our $75,000 number here as well. Okay, and that'll give us a different number. Since they're so vague, we don't know, you know, I'm just going to assume that the last fixed cost number was right, but maybe it's not. You know, things like this are going to be in flux a lot of times, especially when you're doing this for your business. You know, you're going to have to be able to play with these numbers, and so you know what's going on. Now, here's what I was saying earlier, and somebody drop out. Avery, Sherry, Robin dropped out. No, she didn't. Oh, but I make a mistake. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing here then. Now, remember, this is your break-even point money. This is going to be your total revenue from sales. Your actual profit, okay? Once again, hit my plus, let them know that what's going on next is a formula, is going to be your revenue here divided by, and we'll just say this is your cost. So I say divided by, I meant minus. Let's subtract those two. And so selling 1,736 of those, you end up with $607.29 profit. And that's really not right. It needs to be a little more complicated than this, but for our purposes right now, we'll call that good. That's okay, Robin. It happens. So any questions on the discussion? And if you have any questions, if you want to look, I did it pretty detailed right here. So if there's no questions on that, you guys should have a pretty easy time at it. I mean, it's here. We've covered it here. That should be pretty great. Okay, since Richard's here. Richard, did you have any questions you wanted to ask on any of the previous stuff, or do we just want to move forward?
Just move forward. It looks I can watch the first couple minutes. By looking at that spreadsheet, I think I can probably figure it out.
Yeah, and like I said, if you look on the discussion here, I did my own discussion post, and it's pretty well spelled out there. Now, do me a favor, guys. Don't just copy and paste that. That's kind of cheating. Actually work the numbers yourself. You know, see if you can recreate that. Now, when I asked about if we needed anything, you know, from last week or week before, is there anything you didn't you might want to cover? Just because I always figure that if one person has a question, somebody else will have it too. They just don't want to ask.
No, I think I'm pretty good so far.
Okay. Well, we're going to move on into where was it? I believe it is chapter 10. Let me make sure that's the one I have up. Yeah. On a chapter 10 homework, it is called simple interest and promissory notes. Okay. Didn't we go through some of this, Robert or Richard? Sorry.
We did.
Heck Robert is. Okay. Not sure who the heck Robert is, but he's not in class right now.
Now we went through the ordinary interest versus other interest for like 360 days versus 365 and all that.
Okay. Okay. Well, are you ladies fine with wanting to cover some of that? Or if there's another chapter that you may have looked at you want to get to, I'll try to accommodate as much as I can. Well, my chat disappeared, so if you tell me, I may not be able to. Where'd my chat go? Oh my gosh! Oh, there it is. Okay. So nobody has any issues with that. All right. Well, I'm gonna share this with you here. This may be cheating a little bit, but it just helps us out, and let's just help out the people who actually decide to show up, right? Okay, Sherry, that's fine. I really don't have any favorites of what to go over. I gotta stop with this chewing habit. All right, so let's look here, and they're asking you to find the amount of interest on the loan, and this is the simplest interest you're going to see. They give you the formula: interest is equal to principal times rate times time. Your principal is how much you borrow. Okay. Your rate, that's going to be in a percentage. We're going to change that over to a decimal here in a moment. But at 7.75%, and time is time, whether it's in days, months, or years. And you're going to have to do some conversions there. Now, did I say? Let me make sure I said when they give you the interest rate, it's always a yearly interest rate. I don't even think they'll ever specify something different. If they do, then that's one thing, but this is going to be a yearly interest rate. So let's go through here. Oops. Make it easy on myself. Now there's multiple ways to do this. And let's see how they show us to do it. Um, now your principal, we know is $50,000. So we ain't got a $50,000 loan. Right now, in today's numbers, that might buy you a used Ford Fiesta. Actually, I drive a Focus, and I went and looked at a Focus RS when I was buying mine, and then that number is not too far off. I did figure though that if I came home with a 4-year-old used Ford hatchback that cost $40,000, that would probably be my new home, and that's where I'd be sleeping. So I decided to not do that. My wife will only put up with so much. So our rate, let's go ahead and convert that 7.75%. We know 3/4 is 0.75. So, and they do the conversion here. So in a decimal, 0.0775. That's your rate per year. And the time is going to be 6 months. Now, the way I do it is I figure out what is my monthly interest rate. And I can turn this into, we see it as decimal, but I can turn it percent here because the computers are still going to see it as a percent, and it rounded it up. Even though it still sees it as 7.75, they show us something different. In fact, if I remember right, Excel goes out to 9 digits. So when you do calculations on here, even though you're looking at, like, we had earlier $17,260.49 or whatever it would be, it may be 0.4932871, blah 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 blah. And it calculates, it uses all those numbers whether you see them or not. What I like to do is I like to figure out what my monthly interest rate is. So I'm gonna hit my plus sign again, take that rate and just divide it by 12. Okay, now I did not touch that cord. There we go. So as a percentage, every month on this loan, See, they keep going and going and going and going. About 0.65% every month. All right. So I can just do the calculation. Interest is equal to principal times rate times time. So I'm gonna hit my plus sign again, take my principal times, I'm actually going to use my monthly rate, and then I'm going to use the number of months we borrow the money for. And let's see if I got it right. Let's turn this into money so it looks like something. $1,937.50. Now here, they do it a little bit different way. Well, they take the time and they turn that time into years. So that's going to be 6 out of 12 months, right? So it's half a year. Now, once again, we can do it. We can do the way they do it. They want to take our plus sign, our pull times. Since we're going in years here, we're going to use our yearly interest rate times our time in years. And looky here, it comes out the same. All right. So I always tell people in math, there's multiple right ways to do it. Now there's millions of wrong ways to do it, but many times you can find different ways to do it and still get the same answer, still get the right answer. Any questions on that simple interest? All right, we're going to move down a little bit. Let's just do number 2. Okay. Now let's remember, see if they tell us out here. Exact interest, when they use the term exact interest, they mean 365 days. Okay. If they use the term ordinary interest, they're going to mean 360 days. So look at what they're asking for. And they're looking for exact. All right. The ordinary interest rate was a trick, a small trick that bankers use to try to squeeze more money out of you. I mean, money lenders wouldn't, do anything shady to try to get more money out of you, would they? So once again, the formula remains the same. Interest is equal to principal times rate times time. All right, so I'm just gonna come down here. We'll work on number 2 down here. Principal, rate, time. I'm gonna leave those 2 interests here because what I'm gonna do is just as an example. Well, that's just dandy, sir. Act like you've done this before. Interest, and we're going to call it exact interest, and then we're going to call the next one ordinary interest. Not that they're asking for all that, but this just gives us a chance to look at the difference. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but if you want this to automatically go to the right width, hold it. We have somebody come in. Ashley, I didn't see you come in. Hello. So just so we can kind of make a comparison with this one problem. So once again, the principal is how much you borrowed. There's also a thing called a format painter. I can grab this right here and I hit this little paintbrush, and it doesn't actually copy over any numbers. What it does is it copies over the formats of those. So money's monies, percent's percent, and we go on. The interest rate is 5%, right? And then the time is 80, and that is in days. And once again, they said exact interest. So let's be the first one we're going to do. Well, since that is once again a yearly interest rate, oh, no problem, Ashley. I'm just glad you're here. The interest rate is in years, but you're only doing it, but they give you time in days. So we're gonna want to convert this into days somehow. Easiest way I find is I am going to take my interest rate, and since you're looking for exact interest, we know it's 365 days. I now have a daily interest rate. And I'm going to spread that out just so we can look at exactly how small that actually is. I did divide by 365. So I'm going to show you here. I'm going to take that same number and turn it back into a decimal, just so we can kind of get an idea that 0.013699%, change the decimal is 0.00003. So it's a very, very, very tiny number. That's tenths, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. So 100,000s, millions, and then 10 million. So that decimal is 375 10 millions. Very, very, very small number. All right, so once again, we have our exact interest is going to be equal to, get my plus sign, principal times my rate, since we're doing on a daily basis, times time, $43.84. Did we get it right? $43.84. And like I said, we could have done it another way. We could have said, we could do it in years. So 80 days is how many years? Well, 80 divided by 365, okay, that is 0.211781 years. Okay, so if we want to do it in years, and we should get the same thing, right? It's equal to, so we hit our button here, principal times our rate, since we're on a yearly basis here, times time. Once again, that's the percentage of a year we're using. And there we go. We get the same amount of number. So in 8 days on a $4,000 loan at 5% yearly interest, you pay $43.84. Now, this is simple interest. This is not compound interest. Compound interest is a little bit more of a devil to work with. Number 7. All right, I'll tell you what, that'll be the next one. Now, just for sake here, let's look and see what the difference is. Since we're going to use 360 days in this one, because we're going to use ordinary interest, at 5% divided by 360 days is going to give us a little bit different of a number. Same thing with here. If we do a yearly rate, we're going to use 360, and that gives us a little bit different of a number. So let's see what the difference is. So interest is going to be equal to my principal times my rate, which I'm going to use the daily rate. I'm sorry. Times my new daily rate times those 80 days. And look, by using ordinary interest, the bank got a little bit more money out of you. Now, and you're thinking, well, that's 44 let me see. What's that? 44 plus 16 is 60 cents. So you're only paying 60 cents more interest. Now let's spread that out if the loan was much larger. Okay. Or we're doing 1,000 of these little loans. Okay. So if we did 1,000 of these little loans at 60 cents a piece, well, it's extra $600 in our pocket. And once again, we can do this the same way. Principal times my yearly rate, so it's going to use year this time, times 0.22222 years. We should get the same thing, which we do. So that basically tells us we're right. Everybody got that one? Not too difficult? All right, let's look at number 7 real quick. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, Central Auto Parts borrowed $450,000 at 9% interest in July. Oh, this is one I think. Didn't we do this one, Richard?
Think so.
Okay.
Yes.
And I think we said, I think I told you that we're going to cover how to do the number of days on a spreadsheet, because that makes your life a whole lot easier. You open up a new sheet here. So let's do B first, just for the heck of it. Okay. They borrowed it on July 13th. Let's just use this year, you know. So it'd be 6/13/2022. Okay. They borrowed it for 140 days. Cool thing about a spreadsheet, you can make it do all the work for you. Work smart, not hard. Well, I hit plus or equals. We remember to tell the cell, hey, next thing you know, what we're going to do is going to be some sort of mathematical calculation. So I'm going to take the date plus 140 days. Come on, I didn't touch you, you stupid cord. And it tells us it is, what is it, October 31st, 2022? Nope, it says November 30th. Did I get something wrong? Oh, July. July is 7. Somebody's got to correct me on this stuff. 7/13. And look, November 30th, November 30th. That way you don't have to get a calendar out and start marking off days. And you know, because if you look here, they tell you there's 31 days in July, so we remove 13 days, and that leaves us 18 days left in July. Then from August to October is another 92 days, and then 30 days November is 140 days. Okay, that just seems like a lot of work. We don't have to go that way. Now, let me get rid of, let me take this. I'm gonna move this down here somewhere. Now that was a Control X, which is the cut command. So I cut it, and then I use Control V to paste it back down here. Okay. If you want to copy it and paste it, is Control C. Those little shortcuts will help you. So our, let me find this, principal rate, interest. We're going to use the ordinary interest method. Absolutely, Robin. You do need to play with a spreadsheet because it makes life so much easier. And my undergrad was in finance, and everything we did was in spreadsheets. Even back in the day, on a much, it was not such a nice version of Excel. It was a little more. It was just much older, but everything pretty much goes from one version to the other. I just said, yes, it's easy. I know, right? Especially if you put in the right date instead of you put July. That would be awesome. I don't promise anything about anxiety, Robin. So my principal was, how much did I borrow? $450,000. I'm going to go back to my sheet here. And I'm going to do my format painter. That way I can make it all just like I had it before. My dollars, my percentages are going to be my percentages. Now, if you're in ITT next month, we're going to be doing Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. I'm trying to look at the class now. I haven't got to teach it yet. Now, I used to teach, I taught a similar class for 10 years over at OSU IT. They call it computer literacy. I like to spend more time on Excel than I do the other two. And I'm not sure how it's set up here because I just haven't had a chance to look at it. When I did OSU IT, they made us spend a lot of time on Word and then some time on Excel and a very narrow time on PowerPoint. Because once you get Word and Excel down, PowerPoint becomes real easy because it's all the same commands, all the same, format. It's just putting together, a slideshow. Our rate is, what did we say our rate was? 9%. So 0.09. Because remember, if it's 9%, we move the decimal over, or if it's 9%, we move the decimal over to the left twice. And that gives us 0.9. But hey, our spreadsheet's already going to handle that for us. And then it was for 140 days. Once again, they wanted to use ordinary interest. Not ordinary. Ordinary interest is something completely different. Actually, something completely non-existent. And then here just for the heck of it, so we can see how different they are, let's call it exact interest, which is our 365-day one. And if I want to make this exactly fit the longest cell I have there, I go in between, double click, does it for me. Widens it out to exactly what I need it to be. So on my ordinary interest, let's do our rate on a daily basis. We're going to take the 9% divided by ordinary interest, which is 360. And then I'm going to come here and do it again and do our exact interest divided by 365, just for the heck of it. And remember, what you see is not always what you get, not 0.365. Because that says 0% interest. So if we spread that out, we'll finally get to it. Same thing here. Okay. And so this is our daily interest rate. Now, do we want to know what percentage of a year this is? So the 140 divided by 360 for the ordinary interest rate, that becomes 0.38888 out to infinity years. On a 365, that becomes 0.3835662 years. Or, okay. So let's look at ordinary interest. Once again, the formula remains the same right here. Interest is equal to principal times rate times time. Just depends on how I want to plug it in. So you're going to hit my plus sign, my principal, times, let's go ahead and use our daily rate, times the number of days, $15,750. And then we can do it the other way. Principal times our yearly rate times how much of a year 140 days is, we get the exact same number, which makes me feel good, right? We know what we got going on here. Exact interest, okay? Once again, principal times our daily rate times 140 days. I'll do the same thing here. Interest times my yearly rate times my time in years. Should get the exact same number. And notice here, that becomes $15,534.25. But if it remains a decimal, you'll see it spreads it out. But it's going to go ahead and round for you when you say, hey, I want this to be money. Now, if I take one minus the other over a 140-day period, I don't know why I'm doing it on this one, just to show it's going to do the same. The difference between exact interest and ordinary interest is $215.75. Now, once again, if you're a bank with $100 million to loan, $200 million, whatever it is, and you're making these loans and you're using ordinary interest instead of exact interest, imagine how much more money that is for the bank. All right, so that about as clear as mud, guys.
What the fuck? Yep.
Thank you, Avery. I did mute myself because I was taking a drink. I didn't want to sound weird in the microphone. It's close enough to the end of class, 2 minutes, that we can call this the don't freak out, Robert. The official end of class. So I'll stop recording. But just know that if anybody wants to stick around and have any more questions, I will stay here for as long as needed. So here we go.